Okay, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining in for today's event. All right, so my name is Kwan here. I'll be the speaker for today, one of the two speakers. Another speaker will be Marcus from the SocGen. All right, so I'd like to thank SocGen for sponsoring the dinner for you all today. The dinner okay today? Good, huh? You all prefer Ping chicken rice, Singapore favorite, right? Better than usual random mixed rice kind of right? Mixed rice normally might not be good, huh? Not sure. So, we have a good review for this Buntoki. Then we rotate between the other vendor that we use for the events if you are here often. All right. So we will every day have Buntoki, don't worry, we'll rotate around, right? So, but this is not our choice. So, if you have any feedback, anything to feedback on this food itself, let us know so that we can feedback to the vendor as well. All right, so I'll be starting first. All right, so we appreciate if everyone can remain a bit more silent. All right. Okay, so we'll start off with the promotions first. So first one is actually the referral program. So if you are already the account holder with Phillip Securities, all right, you can actually refer your friends. All right, so new to Phillip clients have certain rewards itself for new reward. But you as a referrer can also benefit because you as a referrer will get $68 per account that you refer to us. But you have to use your unique referral link, meaning you must scan this QR code, all right, in your account number, they will generate a link for you. The link can be opened on mobile, the browser, or the website. When you open the account there through the link, all right, then you will be tagged under that. So meaning your new account that your friend opened or your family member opened will be tagged to you, and then you will get a referral reward. That's all the tag is about. Nothing else will be tagged onto the link. Okay. Okay, so if you miss the link, later you can ask us again. The next one is interest rate decrease. All right. So interest rate dropped from 4.8 to 4.5 for our share financing. If you've been here often, the previous time we share should be 4.8%. Okay. So 4.5% is for Singapore dollars, 5.8 USD, 5.58 for HQD. And as you know, there will be more interest rate cuts going on, right, for the fourth quarter this year and for the full of next year, 2025. So likelihood you can see and expect this rates to be also on a slight decline along with the US Fed rates. Okay, so what you do here is that you can actually benefit by using share financing if you can find investment opportunities or REITs or dividend counters that benefit you by giving you dividend of more than the financing rate. There's a positive carry, meaning you are earning more than what you are borrowing at. All right, so you can consider this. This also works as a short-term financing function. So if your funds is coming out maybe next month or the month after, but you want to buy and take part in the investment opportunity this month and right now, you can also use the margin facility as well. So this is for margin account, not the cash plus account. Huh? Cash plus account have lower trading commission rates, but this is margin account with lower financing rates. Right, next, for today's event, especially we have SocGen, right? So SocGen PLC is the main topic for today. Also, they have an ongoing promotion until 31st of December. So they have 7 US DLCs, 7 US DLCs specifically, right? So this corresponds to the Magnificent 7 counters. So you should know them, right? Tesla, Microsoft, Apple, and all that. With these 7 counters, if you trade any of them for 2 buy trades within this promotion period, you will get $88, regardless of how big you trade for the 2 buy contracts. Right? So as long as you try out, take a trade, take a swing in it, and then if you find it useful to you can use it to hedge or to do your investment as well. But do understand the risk before you make the investment decision. Also for Singapore, we have a free Singapore market depth. All right. So this market depth is a free access. Just apply under the rewards tab on either the mobile P3 app or on the website. You can apply for this SGX enhanced market depth access. No points and no dollars needed to apply for it. It's free. Okay. This one is the one I'm mentioning just now. At the end of the event, if you haven't joined this Telegram group, just join through this QR code or join at the QR code at the back at the distribution counter later. After you join this QR code, you can queue up and select this wireless charging mat from SocGen later on. Right, so not to worry if you miss this QR code, later on we'll have the QR code again at the back. If you have already joined your Telegram group, show to my colleagues that you've already joined in, and you also get a charging mat as well. Okay. Okay, so let's start with the topic proper. Right, so Java, I just came past the disclaimer. So basically, any recommendations here or anything I've mentioned here, mainly more for just a discussion purpose, illustration as well. So it does not constitute to an investment direct advice to buy or sell. All right, but also you can take a look at what I'm saying to see if it fits your investment purpose or you also agree with it and can consider whether you want to take part in the investment decision as well. All right, so basically the general trend, all right, so this is review first. Of course, now it's already October, so 2023 is quite far away already. But just to give you a gauge of what things is happening, in 2023, S&P 500 rose 24.2%. Right? This magnificent seven, this seven counters rose as a whole 75.7%, which is why you keep seeing them on the news, on articles that they are outperforming the market. And these seven are large firms or tech companies in US itself. All right. So you can see the performance over there, is it in the table? All right, 2023 versus what they have. And the most third column, right, third column is actually the fourth column in sense. Fourth column from the left is actually the performance as of yesterday. All right, so I took them today, so yesterday, right, as of yesterday. And the PE is as of yesterday as well. Okay, so actually you can see S&P 500 right now, as of yesterday, performance is at 21.54. We will compare this number to anything above it. Technically, only three counters outperform from this year to date. Right? You only have India, you have Meta, and you have Amazon. Now, of course, you see Tesla, I put asterisk there, minus 14%. Why got asterisk? Anyone know why got asterisk? Anyone know why Tesla, I put asterisk there? Last night, what happened? Earnings night. So what happened after post market? Anyone follow? Tesla? Tesla went up 12%. Okay, today Asian hours also fulfill the 12% up. So if you fulfill all the way to the market open today, you will see Tesla should be narrowing up the gap and negative gap that you're seeing of the minus 14%. Okay. Although I'm not sure how today will perform as a whole, but today should start around 12% up from against yesterday. Okay, so overall, as a market update itself, what's happening in the US market? So US Fed and the elections, presidential elections is the main reason. Give me a moment. Show this first. Right. So, sorry for the interruption. All right. So the US Fed and the presidential elections is actually the main S&P factors that's fueling the volatility that you see currently in the US market. So if you're inside the US market or you're inside the trading investment market as a whole, right, it's a bit more volatile. And yet the magnitude of the shift might not be as big compared to previously because people are still waiting for more clarity and confirmation of certain news of the US Fed and the presidential elections. All right. Okay. So this Q3 volatility, right? So impacted by the mainly slowing economy, and then the fear that Fed was behind the curve. Right. So there was a very big swing up and down in third quarter. Right. So you see the July swing, then all the way up and down back. All right. So there's less impact from the fundamentals, the actual company performance or the economic performance that's helping the stock market in a sense, because stock market is anticipating, right? So even though the economic data was good, right, the stock market actually might have a bad performance because this good data or this strong performance may lead to a lingering inflation, which the lingering inflation is the reason why people always say that the Fed might push back their plans for the rate cut. But of course, they didn't do so, and they did impose that rate cut over in September, 50 basis points, one. Right, but there was a fear that the Fed might push it back if the economic number was too strong in third quarter from July to August. And that's the reason why for the big swing happening in July as well. Right. Another reason was caused this July swing was also the Japan, right? So they increased the interest rates in Japan. So investors in US sometimes borrow from other currency because US have very high interest rates. Other currency have lower interest rates. So when they borrow there and they invest in a high yielding economy or stock market or this like the US Treasury even, you compare the differential in the interest rate yields, right? They will benefit by investing in US and borrowing in yen, for example. So when yen start increasing the interest rate also, it now becomes more costly. So some people will reverse this trade, and that also causes outflow of funds from US back to the respective countries and increasing interest rates. And that also caused certain volatility during that period of time when there was a squeeze of capital volatility in the stock markets. Right? So maybe if they really discern between what is a mid-cycle slowdown versus what is a recession, what is a real recession that is facing. So do you believe the US is now facing a recession, or is it just maybe a correction that we are seeing in between here and there? Right? So it depends on the viewpoint on this. Personally, I feel it's more of a mid-cycle slowdown, right? Not really a full recession per se, because we are still quite positive overall. But we see an intra-year drawdown, and this is the table below, the intra-year drawdown. It's actually a very common thing, all right, that you have a big, might have a big correction within the year. As you can see, there are certain years that have a lot higher, but the average drawdown per year from between 1989 to 2025 is actually 14%. 15% drawdown, meaning 14% decline from the start of the year within the trading year itself. Of course, it might not end well. It might actually just rebound after that, but within the trading year, it might actually see a correction. So it's a very common thing. So this is also this impact. If let's say there's a Fed rate cut, right? So after the first rate cut of any rate cuts, right? After 1 year performance, this is the comparison. So the left side, the red color is high quality. Yellow color is a low beta, meaning the stocks that are a bit more stronger, not really corresponding as much to the economy, more of a defensive stocks like utilities. Your pink color is a large cap, the big companies. The green color is a small cap, right? So you can see, right, as a whole overall, right, the red, yellow, and pink are all positive. Now, of course, within the recession period, if let's say there is a recession after 1 year, only the red and yellow average seems to be positive. Now, this shows yellow is supposed to be the defensive sector, and that is also a reason why it's supposed to be staying above ground, right? Because it's defensive, it's supposed to withstand most of this any recession impact to them, right? It's a sector. And high quality basically means the more of the growth counters, the very strong fundamentals counters, all right? So this is a gauge of these economic numbers. So this one, very near. When is the next Fed meeting? When is the next Fed meeting? November or October? November. November which date? 7. Okay. Which day 7? November 7, the date, right? Which is the expectation, 90+%. What happened? 1 rate cut. Now 7.5%, less than 1, means stay. No change. Okay. So what I did, why you show this? You will see the highlighter one below, a bit small for those at the back, but highlighter one below, you will see the screens at the side and on the TV, you can take a look. You can see that 1 month ago, on 24th of September, it was 100% that there will be a rate cut. Just that it was between 1 rate cut or 2 rate cut, meaning 25 basis point or 50 basis point. But right now, it's debating between either we have or we have a very small chance that Fed might not cut. Because the economic numbers was showing some strength, and that caused a fear, that's the fear I'm talking about, that the Fed might push back the plans of a rate cut. But by right, they have already mentioned in the previous meeting and even announcements that they will carry on two more rate cuts for this year, which exactly will have two more meetings. So most people expect one each, right? And that's the reason why there's still a majority believe that there's still a one rate cut going on in November. After November, what's next? Then we have December, the final Fed meeting. So now only 66% believe that there will be two rate cut by then. 66% chance. Right. This is under CME Fed Watch if you are interested to find out where this is from. What we see compared to 1 month ago, we see what's carefully, right? 100%, 100% above the rate cut. 100%. Now we're seeing 66%. So this is the difference. This is a change in view. This is a change in expectations of the interest rate environment. And that's why some markets have moved during this period of time between last month and now, right? There's a swing. Of course, right now, this current few weeks, right, this 1 week or so, the majority of the market movement was actually supported by the actual earnings itself. Because we're now in the Q3 earnings season. Right? That's one of the main factors supporting the market. And some of the outperformance of certain sectors is doing so. So US earnings is the meaning. Earnings is actually is broadening beyond just tech companies. So previously tech companies were the more focused one. Right? People look at tech companies to see if you lead the market ahead. Because Nasdaq was doing so well, right? But now you can see that actually other sectors or industry will actually do quite well as well. So we have the industrials that's doing quite well as well. Right? But consumers, staples and consumers, these discretionary sectors also are doing quite well this year for US itself. Right? So there was a rotation into small cap as well in Q3, and that's something to see if it will continue in Q4 after the rate cut or after the election as well. Right? So another thing for tech is that some people say the tech it seems to be running out of steam. Right? So there might be fund flowing out of tech into other sectors. So yes, that's true in the short term. But for long term, technically, tech is still a very new thing. AI is a very new thing for investment. What I mean by that? Most people now are trading AI through the existing behemoth, right? Existing big companies, existing companies that are already in tech. But they're not focusing mainly in AI. They're just partially investing their time in AI. And then you're investing in members that are leaders. There's very few pure AI companies that you can actually invest in currently. And that's one of the reasons why you might see that there's still a lot of room to grow. Now, one sector that is not as commonly known that will do well is utilities. So utilities, normally we take it as defensive or is it aggressive? Or is it cyclical? Defensive, first hand. Defensive. Only few reasons. Okay. So usually we believe utilities are defensive. Okay, because they are usually always needed, right? But in this case of AI team, it becomes the fact that the whole overall this ChatGPT, all the tech system, machine learning, AI running, all need a lot of energy. Even the crypto industry, right? So it actually boosted the need of energy and it boosted the utility performance this year. So they are one of the best performing sector as well for this year, if you're not aware. Right. So that's also one of the areas for people that are investing into US, looking for dividend. Utility also do give quite decent dividend yield as well. Right. So next we have the US presidential elections. So I think the previous few times if you meet me before giving out a speech, I would say that Trump was losing some of the percentage votes, all right, on what the sentiment itself, not also votes, right? And Trump may not win. But now Trump seems to be getting some edge back again between the race. And if Trump do win, right, so there's two main things that will change. One is supply chain definitely will shift. So companies with large supply chains, companies with large manufacturing in China or not in US yet, you might see them suddenly moving more of the funds into US to build up their own supply chain there, right, to fight against any potential tariffs against China or against other countries as well. Okay, so this is one area to look at. So this is between US and China, all right? So you can see that the trade this disparity is still growing over time, right? And it's not really helping, even after COVID, it's still not really closing up a lot, I'd say. Okay. Hmm. So the main idea is that if actually Trump impose more tariff on China, the net trade actually might worsen. Right? You see the dotted lines. The first dotted line was from the 2018, right? So the Trump first tariff on China, and the second dotted line is 2022. All right. So that one is mainly not tariff, but mainly from the supply chain disruptions from the COVID-19 lockdowns. All right. So you can see that actually the disruption between this area, this time period, actually widened, right? Between the US and China, the trade, the disparity in terms of the trade balance. Can you give me an overview before I move on further into the stock specific for seven counters? All right. So you can see this is the red color bar is the bar of the performance of this particular sector, right? For this year to date, what is the range? Meaning the lowest it went this year, the highest it went this year. So if you see gold currently is at the highest, because gold is actually breaking new high recently, right? Above 27,000 already, 2,700 already. Okay, and US equity also on near the high. Okay, the one near the low, back down below, right, is actually the Brent crude, right, which is the oil market. Right, even with all the disruptions in the Middle East, the view or the fear that there might be lowering demand for energy might come into play to affect the oil prices. But usually going into December, you should see oil price stabilizing or going back up because there might be usually more demand for winter months for energy consumption. But yet at the same time, even though there's energy consumption increase, there might be decrease in the business usage of energy because of the potential change in president in the US itself. Okay, this is a 1 day performance gap today, meaning this was comparing 23rd of October performance to 22nd. Right, so this 1 day performance. So you see mainly is red color, right? So mainly red color, slight correction. This is 1 month performance, right? The size of each of the box is how big the market cap is, right? Right. So you can compare and see who's bigger also, over here. So you see that the counters that we'll be talking about later are also the big boxes. So we have Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, Alphabet, Facebook, which is now Meta, Amazon, and Tesla. So you can actually see them very clearly over here in an L shape because they are also the larger companies within their respective fields itself. This is the year to date. Okay, so you tell me US correction, recession, everything. So yes, there's a lot of fears going on. But if you tell me US is in recession, it's quite far away from it. I will say, even if the US economy does not reflect directly in the stock market, by seeing this stock performance, I don't think we can actually say that US is in any recession per se. It doesn't really make sense in the terms of the current economic backdrop. But if there's a slowdown, potentially yes, especially if the US presidential election is going to cause some difference going forward. Okay. Okay, so this is just also the overview of some of the geopolitical tensions coming up. So we have Russia, Ukraine, right? You have Middle East, and you have the Red Sea, which is impacting the logistics, the shipping itself, right? So usually, which one do they impact each other? So Middle East impact previously caused oil price to spike sharply, but it did stabilize back and go back down, like I mentioned, because of the demand for oil or demand for energy might have reduced. So there might be a resumption of energy output by certain OPEC countries that were previously stopped for a while, right? So there's some shift in the production state, and I think the supply-wise is quite stable. So oil prices should not see a very sharp increase, but yet at the same time, because of the tension on the sea itself, a lot of the sea routes are actually affected, which means that the shipping rates is still very high, right? So it will actually impact a lot of people, especially going to the end of the year. You will see a higher demand of shipping from all the shipping festivals, all the different holidays and everything. So the shipping routes will definitely have an impact in the shipping cost and will impact in the stock performance as well. Okay, next one to note, okay, is the currency pressure. So your USD strengthening away from the key trading partners. So over the past 1 month, it already climbed around 3.4%. So it's the strongest level since around 2nd of August. And this strength itself, right? So if let's say, like I mentioned, there is lower expectation of rate cut, right? Meaning the overall expectation is slowing down. So this particular one means that they will actually slow down that one, then they will maintain higher rates. So there's a recovery of the currency strength over there. But if you cut rates, your currency strength will usually drop as well. But you're paying less interest on your dollar. And if Trump do win, you have more tariff, and then you also have more potential chance of inflation for tariffs. And with that, to fight the inflation, likelihood you will stay elevated US rates for a longer period of time as well. So double side impact by both the US Fed and the presidential election concerns. There are also physical concerns. So even though now it's a bit strong for USD, but for a longer term, it should not stay so strong. Because first, US have very strong, very big deficit. So they need to eventually pay. So likelihood they will have pressure over there. And other currencies, if they finding support or recovering itself, then the US will, on relative, weaken against these other countries that is either moving their own rates as well. Okay. So this is just a chart on Nasdaq. So generally, you can take a look at where we are at. We are already on a higher end. Right, the all-time high that you see is actually nearer to July for Nasdaq. Right. Then for October, we actually attempted to be very near the all-time high before there's a correction slightly down. So in the short term, you see there's a slight downtrend currently. But likely for me, it will be supported by not only the Fibonacci lines that you see here, but mainly on the moving averages lines that you see over here. Okay. So this is S&P 500. Okay. So this is just chart itself. Let's show you first. Okay. So why I show this and this was in July, my session. This is now. Okay. So there's comparison. From there, actually, you saw that there's a big decline over into from July to September, and then a rebound back up to now where we are at, and it's already broken to higher highs for the S&P 500. Okay, so I will talk more about the 7 counters later. Okay, so this is just a comparison. So like I mentioned just now, only 2 counters mainly is above S&P 500. The rest is actually low if you compare year-to-date performance. Okay, so for Alphabet itself, you have the AI company, the AI push. So they are also one of the main companies leading that. And they also have their different search engine that is combining with AI, right? So then market share is 91%. So still very strong market share for search engine. And you have the Google Cloud platform. So also doing quite well over there. Of course, they are behind both Amazon and Microsoft in terms of market share, but they're still doing quite well. And then they will actually have an improvement there that will reflect with their overall offerings for the advertisement revenue. Okay, the risk factor, there's quite a few to take note of, right? So the main one that you might be seeing is at the bottom, where is the antitrust case that if you're following the Apple, when there's Alphabet news, right? Also the potential that there's some risk that they might want to break up this company. Okay. So this is from the technical analyst that we have from the research team. Okay, so he's saying that there might be a technical buy signal for the short term. All right. So he's saying this is the one. But if you compare his chart, right? This is the same chart. Right? This I added a few more days, but this was from 14 October ending. From there, from the point of 14 October over here, if you see the mouse, all right. So these few days has been quite sideways. So the last few days usually is not really moving. So if it's a technical buy signal, then likelihood it might or might not be fulfilling soon, because it's now touching the moving average line that you see over there in blue. Okay. So it's the overall one also, right? I drew over in July, and this is how it performed versus that line. So definitely it broke through my resistance, support levels, all right. But it came back up, and then now it's currently at my second support level. So technically, it supports along with the line with the mechanical analysis, which I believe that there might be some stronger buying power over at these levels. So there might be some buying power or strength over here currently for this counter. So Amazon wise, so now most people know that is the most valuable asset for them is the AWS, right? So this AWS site might actually have the largest market share, but yet at the same time, if you are following Amazon for investment choice, you might want to know that the retail segment might be the main driver for growth, meaning the retail sales. And why is it that they can do well? It's because they have their logistics that they're improving to lower the cost of the delivery of for the retail segment. So instead of fighting for higher revenue via the more sales per se, they lower their costs. So the margins increase, and in that case, they're also less dependent on third parties for delivery services, and that also increases their strength within the sector itself. Okay, and then overall wise, with these two main sectors, they will also manage to encroach into the advertising market as well. So same thing for the call that my analyst gave was a technical buy call for short term. All right, so they say that there's a upward support line. So you can see that it did break down below slightly against support line in red color that I mirrored, right? But at this point, technically, it might also be the final drawback before a push up if there is any overall good news in the sector. Okay, so it depends really on the overall macroeconomic. But I believe Amazon do have a very strong fundamental currently in the short term to actually push up based on the longer term. You see the start of August to now, that technically is an uptrend from the bottom itself. Okay, same thing, comparison from July to now. So almost all of these counters from my July point, it actually broke the second support level, right? Because there was a very strong pullback in August, right? In July-August period. But then it actually all rebounded back up above. Okay? And you can see that for this particular one that I drew, it's actually trading very near the midline of the channel. So it's still staying very near the midline, and I personally believe it's staying above that moving average for a majority of times in the trading of the period. Okay, for Apple itself, iPhone. So the iPhone have a weak sales previously. So now is a iPhone 16. Anyone? 16? Who are using 16? I'm not sure. I'm just curious. Who are already using iPhone 16? No one. Cannot be. I don't believe. Who gives? No one buy. Cannot be right. So confirm. Okay, someone. So iPhone 16 onwards, they say they have the what? AI power. I haven't started yet, but AI is a power. It's coming in now. They say, okay, Apple. AI power coming in. So we hope that is the main boost in the sentiment for Apple. All right, so they're unveiling the different features over there soon, but not to worry if you're using the older phones. All right, in 15, it can still potentially benefit as well. But 14 and below, then 15 and above, you can actually still benefit from the AI powered services. Okay. Okay, so they will boost the optimism, like I mentioned, and the AI software actually benefit their service business overall ecosystem itself, the apps itself, right? So they have a growth potential over there. Okay, so you can see overall same thing, technical buy call. Okay. So we compare that to now, same thing. There's a slight break, but actually technically close above at or above that support line. So I would say the support is not really broken. So you can see how it happens today. So if it breaks these support lines today, over in two candles in a sense, then the support line might be invalidated, right? Then you might want to see a new trend, might be a sideways trend where it's touching mainly my near the 224 levels, which is my next Fibonacci level support. Okay. For Apple itself, this is also a longer term one, the view of a longer term trend, right? So you see, this is how it happens. Okay. So Apple is one of the few counters that it did not totally break very far off my second support, right? So actually the low was around 196 or so. So my support was 201 or so over there in the green color zone. So it did rebound and stay above the zone right now, and then in the higher end for Apple itself overall performance. Okay, so this is a meta. So if you're trading in the meta, you use Facebook itself, you might be also using the Reels. So this is the main initiative that they have, right? So they're also looking into AI, machine learning, ML, to improve their services quality of the advertisement segment, right? So they're also investing a lot into the metaverse itself. Okay. So the key risk that you can face, you always confirm that you know, is TikTok, right? So if TikTok encourage more business from Facebook or from Meta itself, all right, then there might be a margin depression or a pressure on them itself to maintain. Because they might be a bit more aggressive, or they might need to be a bit more aggressive to maintain their market share per se. Okay, so same thing, still technical buy call, because technically, like some of them, they are still showing very strong buy momentum in terms of the technicals. Okay, so uptrend channel, so this definitely broke the uptrend channel. Okay, but it's now still supported mainly by the moving average lines, and then it's still also supported by my channel that I drew for it. So let's see. So the channel. So you see the first half part, the channel on the bottom half, and if you mirror the same channel height back to the second half, you actually stayed within the half. So like one half of a channel trading zone, you can see that it was moving quite in line with the channel mid lines. Okay, so right now it has broken down back below. You can see, right? So near the end is actually at the midpoint of the bottom channel now. So that's why I see it tell me the technical buy call. I might actually look at it closely, because if it does not break below that midpoint, there might be some rebound pressure going forward thereafter. Okay, so there's a rebound over there coming in. So now, very now at October, then back at the midpoint of the two channels, and we see how we'll move further from there. Microsoft itself, I think everyone knows Microsoft, like market leader for Office. So now they're also market leader going into cloud-based Office, right? So the cloud-based, typo there, CAGR, right? So it's 25.3% by 2026, right? And 12% for overall for the 3-year average of 24 to 26. Okay, so this includes your Office services, your LinkedIn and the Dynamics itself. And the Azure is a Microsoft, the cloud service driver, right? So that's also a very strong driver. And one of the higher operating margins as well, 43%, compared to the PC only at 30%. Okay, so they're also doing better now in the gaming side and in terms of PC, because they have acquired the Activision Blizzard. So now they're the third largest player, just behind Sony and Tencent. All right, they overtook Nintendo. So there's also a potential boost for them in terms of performance. But the key is that the macroeconomic or the environment on the economic slowdown will actually affect the demand for Office services overall. So there might still be certain downside risk if the recession comes to play. Okay, so no more technical buy. Microsoft technical sell, short term. Technical sell, movement a bit more bearish in terms of the momentum. All right. So you see now it broke up above, but there is, when you touch that particular sell zone, there's a sell down. This is a final candle over here. The final candle is after it touched the sell zone, it came back down itself, right, to be 424 area yesterday closing. Okay, same thing. This is for July. Then next we have from that point, the blue line on is from that point on. You can see that there is also a more bearish signal going on for Microsoft. So overall, I would say Microsoft have a strong basis, but when you're looking for growth, when you're looking for a rebound overall for smaller cap or for higher growth companies, people might not look at Microsoft because it's more of a stable company for longer term. But for short term wise, there might be a more of a sell off or might be a more sideways movements for this counter per se. Okay, NVIDIA, right? Long term demand confirmed there, right? So you have your AI applications, GPU, everything. So market leader, right? So you also have these margins at the mid 70s. Can you imagine 70s for the gross profit margins? So it's quite a crazy level that they're expecting for the FY25. So the key needs too, one of them is other venturing into this same AI space for the chip makers. The geopolitical risk as well. So they are based in where? They're based in US, right? So any tariff here and there might be a certain impact to them as well. AI growth slowdown, so same thing. So what does it mean? This is a macro environment, meaning if the investment going into AI have a reduction due to the overall macro economy, there might be a certain this funds flowing out from AI industry, and then NVIDIA will be affected definitely. Right. So if you saw my initial slides, right, there is a PE level. So NVIDIA is the highest of the lot at 60 compared to the rest. But if you go by forward PE, then they're not so high, 40 plus, near 40, because they are already forecasting that particular earnings boost that they have going into FY25. So technically, sustainable or not for short term, yes, because they have the order books to support it. But after FY25, we're not sure. Right? So after 2-3 years, competition will definitely step in. So we're not sure how this will play out going forward. Technically, still buy for NVIDIA, right? Downward trend, but there is this wedge going on, and then it looked up above. All right, so now it's back in both the buy and sell zone area, right? A very small zone, but mainly to see the strength of momentum. And you will see after that zone is drawn, you can see that it technically has a more bullish movement. So it actually maintained that particular buy momentum. So now, even now going in to October, end of the month, I think there might be some more bullish sentiment going for this counter. Okay, so this is the same thing. From there, there's a very big correction, same as the rest of the Max 7. And then there was a very strong growth back up over there till now. Okay, I think this should be the last one, Tesla. Okay, so they have the sales, right? So this the words what I did was before today, so a bit I've updated this on the numbers yesterday. But you can see that actually the numbers, the revenue did not hit expectations, but the profit exceeded expectations. So the profit itself did above what the people expect, and it actually boosted the overall sentiment of counter, and the counter did have a post-market performance up of 12%. All right. But the main upside I'm looking at is how they are negotiating this industry in the cyber cap. Right, the cyber cap itself, if they can do it for a long-term objective and they can roll out properly, there is a lot of revenue potential over there for in terms of the vehicle usage and also the demand of the ecosystem. Okay, so now in a technical sell in terms of the thing, but I think you can see as of today the technical sell definitely invalidated because of the rebound. But as of yesterday closing itself, at least the technical sell came in and there is still the more sideways and a bearish movement. But technically it did rebound off this support zone. This red color and green color support zone is resistance zone is my own, not the analyst. The analyst one is this one. That is mine. Okay, so I drew the same line quite far back, right? So it's just the same levels that is somehow coincided if you compare to July itself. Right, so the July numbers, I drew this support. And after July, this is what happened to October. So now you see on the bottom right, the middle part, right, the right side, that is where Tesla is currently trading. And of course, you know that it already jumped by 12%. So it's back up to the 2-3 plus levels. Right. So you can see that the yellow color, you see the pre, the word here, is currently trading around there before I started this session today. Okay. So if you are trading in Tesla, you might be happy. You are long. If you are short, then you want to take a look at the position to see the cut loss itself. Okay, so I've done my part. I'll pass my time over to Marcus, who will be sharing more of their offerings from ShopGen. In hand for Marcus. Sponsor the dinner.
Hey, hello everyone. Good evening. Hope that the food was okay. I see a lot of familiar faces, so that's good. Right, so for those of you who are familiar, I think the DLCs, you've heard me say this many times before already, but today is different. Okay, today is a different story altogether because we've just launched something very exciting. The US stock DLCs on the Magnificent 7 stocks. So whatever that you've heard about the DLCs in all my other previous presentations you've been at, today is totally different and something very exciting. All right, so for those of you who are new, my name is Marcus. I'm from Societe Generale. We are the issuer of this daily leverage certificates, DLCs for short, that are listed on the SGX. All right, so we have a wide range of offerings on the DLCs. Next slide. We do have our Hong Kong stock DLCs, our Singapore stock DLCs, Hong Kong indices, Singapore indices, which have been around for the last 7 years that we've been on the SGX. But this time around, just early in October, we have launched our US shelf now with the Magnificent 7 stocks. So that's why Juan has gone through all the Mag 7 stocks just now. Your Tesla, NVIDIA, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta. He has given all of you guys that key resistance, key support levels. So now it's time to put it into action, right? So all these levels mean nothing if you don't have a buy, don't have an instrument to trade a buy or instrument to trade a short kind of position, right? So the DLCs, we now have 3 times long and short DLCs on the Magnificent 7 stocks. All right, next slide. All right, so those of you who are already familiar with the DLCs, you will know that we have our US indices DLCs, our 5 times and 7 times long and short DLCs on the on the Nasdaq 100, S&P 500, and the Dow Jones indices that tracks the E-mini futures during Asian hours. All right, so this is very much similar to your TQQQ or your SQQQ in the US. So those of you who trade the ProShares Ultra 3 times leverage and inverse Nasdaq ETFs in the US, well, these DLCs have exactly the same kind of payoff as your TQQQ or SQQQ. All right, so we have the US indices DLCs in our shelf for the last 2 years, and now we are taking it to the next level. Next slide, with our Magnificent 7 DLCs. All right, so this little red robot over here represents our new US stock DLC shelf. For those of you who know our DLCs, we do have our Kung Fu Masters. You visit our website, you will see the nice Kung Fu Masters there. But now we've gone AI. All right, same as our Magnificent 7 stocks, we are doing technology, and we have our little red robot to represent our US stock DLC. So if you do see around, in advertisements or online, please, you see this red little robot, do think of us, okay? Our SocGen US stock DLCs, very cute, right? All right. So this one is our new image. So forget Kung Fu Masters. Now we have a Kung Fu robot. Next slide. So this is our Magnificent 7 stock shelf right now. All right. So the table on the right, you can see over here, we have the 7 stocks, and then the long and short, 3 times long and short DLCs on each of the Magnificent 7 stocks. All right. And then the rightmost column is the stock code of each counter. So in the name of the DLC, you can tell a lot about the DLC, right? In the name of the DLC, in the middle column, you can see that the underlying asset in the front of the name, followed by whether this is a 3 times leverage, DLC. All right. And then whether it's a long DLC or a short DLC. So if you're bullish, you will buy the long DLC. If you're bearish, you will buy the short DLC. And then followed by SG. SG is not Singapore, okay? All right. SG is Society General. We are the issuer of these DLCs. And then followed by the expiry date in year, month, date format. All right, then the stock code is on the right. So TSYW is our long DLC, TSXW is our short DLC for Tesla. All right, so you can go into your POEM's trading platform, key in TSY or TSX, you should be able to see that DLC, and then you can buy and sell the DLC on the POEM's trading account. All right, so common misconception is, please, you do not open an account with SocGen. All right, if you want to open an account, you can go to France, all right, where we have our retail business. All right, you do not need to open an account to trade the DLCs. You just log into your POEM's trading account, you will be able to trade the DLCs there already. Of course, the DLCs are all listed on the SGX and traded through any regular stock brokerage account. All right, so this one, don't need to take any screenshot. I'll show you guys where to find the full list of our Magnificent 7 stock DLCs later on. Right, next slide. All right, so just a quick recap on what is the benefits of the US stock DLCs before I go into how it works. All right, so I mentioned it's a 3 times leverage instrument. All right, so every day this 3 times DLC will give you that 3 times performance of the underlying stock, Meta, Microsoft, Tesla's daily percentage performance. Okay. All right. And you can trade it in both long and short directions. So you can either go long or you can go short. If you're bullish, you can buy the long DLC. If you're bearish, you can buy the short DLC. All right. So you can take a position on the underlying stock using the 3 times DLCs. But the best part about these DLCs is that, these DLCs are all listed on the SGX securities market. All right. And you can trade it during Asian hours, during SGX market hours. All right. So this opens up a new trading window for you during SGX market hours to trade to gain exposure to the US stocks. So today, for example, right, Tesla reported its earnings earlier this morning. It was up 12% already at the post market. Okay, post market closed at 8 a.m. Okay, so by the time you get into work, by the time you wake up, your brain actually wake up, the US market is closed already. But come 9 a.m. in the morning today, you can initiate a position on Tesla, whether it's a long position or a short position, using the Tesla DLCs. So if you think that Tesla is up 12% at the post-market US session, it's a bit overdrawn already. I'm very bearish on Tesla. EV makers are all loss-making, etc. You can initiate a short position using our 3 times short DLC at 9 a.m. Singapore time, right? Or if you think that 12% up only, no, this Tesla is an animal of its own. It's going to be up 20% tonight during the US market open. Then at 9 a.m. Singapore time, I can initiate a 3 times long position on the Tesla using the DLCs. If you think that later that night it's going to go up to 20%, this Tesla is a beast, right? So 12% is just a tip of, it's just the start only. So you can get in early ahead of the US market open at 9 a.m. Singapore time today with the 3 times long Tesla DLC. So that is the power of this US stock DLCs that we have launched. You can get in early ahead of the US market open. You can trade it during Asian hours, during HS market hours in case of any high impact news, and you have that long short flexibility to trade the underlying stock. All right. So this one is really quite a very, very good value proposition. There are not many instruments out there in the market, or even none, that allows you to gain long short exposure to the US stocks during Asian hours. Not only the Tesla event, you saw last time the Tesla Robotaxi event, like last Friday. Also, during at 10 a.m. Singapore time, 11 a.m. Singapore time, Tesla stock price started to crash after the Elon started to announce a vehicle that has no steering wheel. Like what the hell? Then it started to crash the share price. All right, people took use of the opportunity to trade our Tesla DLCs. Right, or the Microsoft that earlier happened this year, Microsoft CrowdStrike issue outage during Asian hours. You can use these DLCs during Asian hours to initiate a position ahead of the US market open. All right, so this is the one key unique selling point about this US stock DLCs. All right, so these DLCs are all traded on the SGX securities market. All right, so you can only trade it during SGX market hours. But for those of you who are familiar with the SGX market, this is a convenience. You can trade it through your regular stock POEMS account or any regular stock brokerage account. The same way that you trade your DBS shares or your UB shares, you can trade the DLCs as well. And they're all denominated in SGD currency. All right, so you don't have to go through the hassle of changing your money to US dollars, to gain exposure to US stocks. You can just trade our US stock DLCs in Singapore dollar currency. Right? I mentioned that the three times short DLC. So you can use the 3 times short DLCs to also hedge your US stock portfolio. I think many of you here who come here for this event are probably very invested in the US stock market, holding Tesla shares, Nvidia shares, etc. All right. So all is good and fine now in a nice bull market. All right. I see it going higher every day. But the day will come where there's going to be a price correction. And for those of you who have diamond hands who are going to hold on to a US stock portfolio for the long run, right? That's all good. You can hold on to your US stocks portfolio for the long run. You're never going to sell it. You're in there for the long run. But you see price dropping every day if there's a price correction. The mental sort of strategy or psychology will kick in. All right. And that's where a hedging tool could become useful for you. If you use the 3 times short DLCs, you will be able to profit from any price corrections that can use to be offset your paper losses on your long-term buy and hold investment portfolio in the US stocks. But again, this is hedging is not for everyone. All right. Shorting is not for everyone. So you got to understand what is the risk behind shorting and be familiar with that. So I would not advocate that for everyone. But if you are more active in your trading portfolio, you want to be more active, you want to hedge, then you can consider this 3 times short DLCs as well on that we have on the SGX. All right. Lastly, the ball lot size unit is 100 units for all the DLCs that we have, including the US stock DLCs. And it's priced at around 4 to 5 Singapore dollars per unit. So you can gain exposure to the US stocks with as little as $5 times by 100, $500 Singapore dollars. So it's quite efficient. All right. You get 3 times exposure to the underlying stocks. So you use less capital for a greater exposure. That gives you the capital efficiency. With less capital, you also save on your transaction costs. All right. So that's a recap of the benefits of the US stock DLCs. Let's move on to the next slide. Just a bit of fundamentals about the DLCs, which are also for all our DLCs, which are applicable to the US stock DLCs as well. For those of you who are new to the DLCs, let me just go through a bit of 101 before we go into how does the US stock DLCs work. All right. So the daily leverage certificates, DLCs, are fixed daily leverage instruments. Every day you get that, 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, or 7 times performance on the underlying stock or underlying index daily percentage performance. There's a long DLC and a short DLC. So you buy a long DLC if you are bullish on the underlying stock, or if you are bearish on the underlying stock, you will buy the short DLC. All right. Please do not go and short sell anything. All right. You short sell on the SGS market, you get into the buying market, you have to kind of rescue you. It's a big hassle. So no matter what, you always initiate a position with a buy trade. You either buy the long DLC or you buy the short DLC. All right. So these are all traded on the SGX. The same way that you buy your DBS shares or UB shares, you can buy the DLCs as well. All right. We are the issuer and as well as the designated market maker for all our DLCs. So we're obligated by the exchange to provide liquidity on all our DLCs during SGX market hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., where we'll provide that bid and ask prices and bid and ask volumes. So a common misconception here is people always look at, okay, we have over 200 DLCs listed on SGX. Some days people might really like the 10-cent DLC, but sometimes people don't want, for today, no one wants to trade the Kuaishou DLC. So you see zero traded value on the Kuaishou DLC for today. But that doesn't mean that there's no liquidity on the Kuaishou DLC. All right, you have to look at the bid and ask prices and the bid and ask volumes. That's where SocGen, we are providing that liquidity, the bid and ask prices and the bid and ask volumes for you to buy and sell the DLCs throughout the day, even though there might not be any traded value that day. All right, so that is a common misconception that no traded value means no liquidity. That's not true for this kind of products like DLCs, because it's a market make product where we are always providing liquidity there for you on the bid and ask prices and bid and ask volumes. All right, so hope that demystifies that. All right, so if you don't see any traded value, look at the bid and ask prices, bid and ask volumes. If you see there, we are there, then you can still buy and sell the DLCs. All right, next slide. All right, so I mentioned that you get 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, or 7 times performance on the underlying stocks daily percentage performance. All right, that is the formula of the DLC. All right, every day the daily percentage performance of the underlying asset multiplied by the leverage factor will equals to the daily percentage performance of the DLC. All right, over here at this point, I just want to clarify again, these DLCs are not options. All right, I know people here, many of you here might be trading US options, but this is not an option. And people you might, this is not also not a warrant. All right, so this is not an option, not a warrant. There is no optionality impact. All right, there is no in the money, out the money, at the money kind of concept. There's no time decay. There's no implied volatility. This is a fixed leverage instrument. All right, this is the formula itself. Every day you get this leverage performance on a close-to-close basis. All right, so if you want to compare it, like I said just now, it's more or less the same payoff as a leverage and inverse ETF. All right, so those of you who trade the L&I ETFs in the US, your TQQQ, SQQQ, this payoff is exactly the same. All right, the DLCs is exactly the same payoff as your TQQQ, SQQQ, just that we can go higher in leverage because we are in a certificate structure and not an ETF structure. So we do go up to 5 times leverage for the Hong Kong single stocks or Singapore single stocks. We go up to 7 times leverage for the indices. All right. So every day you get that same fixed daily leverage. You can see over here that NVIDIA is up by 2%. All right, on day 2 versus day 1. So up 2% NVIDIA on the US close to close basis. My 3 times long NVIDIA will be up by 2% times by 3, 6%. All right. Whereas my 3 times short NVIDIA will be down by 6%. So this happens every day on a close to close basis. My DLCs will give you that 3 times performance of the underlying stocks daily percentage performance. Conversely, also, if NVIDIA was down instead by 2% on day 2 versus day 1 on a US market close to close basis, my NVIDIA 3 times short DLC will be up by 6%. While my 3 times long NVIDIA DLC will be down by 6%. So that's the basic simple formula of the DLCs. All right. Every day you get that 3 times performance. There is no strike price. There's no in the money. There's no out of the money because this is not an option type product. All right. So that's to be clear. I will repeat that many times because everyone keeps asking me, is this a warrant? Is this an option? I have to say it many times. This is not. Okay. This is DLCs. Totally different. All right. Next slide. All right, so those of you who trade the US stock market, I think you should be familiar, but there are many trading sessions within the US stock market. There is the regular trading session, there is the post-market session, there is the pre-market session. All right, so the point of this slide is really just to show that, the US stock DLCs that we have on the Magnificent 7 stocks right now can only be traded during SGX market hours. All right, so Singapore market time, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can buy and sell the DLCs on the US stocks. All right. But outside of SGX hours, you cannot manage your position. All right. You cannot buy and sell the DLCs outside of SGX market hours. So you have to be comfortable with that fact. All right. For those of you who are intraday traders, this might not be something for you. All right. Or those of you who are staying up at night, you want to monitor the night, at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m. or 12 a.m., 1 a.m., you're still up trading US stocks, then maybe this is not something for you. But those of you who value your sleep, who treasure your sleep, you're going to bed by 10 p.m., you're just going to wait for the next morning to see what happens overnight, then this US stock DLCs could be something for you. All right. Where you can just buy it during SGX market hours and you hold it overnight and you come back and see the next morning how it's performed. All right. So this is one important to note about this US stock DLC is that you cannot manage your position during US market hours. Okay. Next slide. So let's go deep in now into how does the US stock DLC, the leverage performance work. All right, there's two principles to it. Principle number one is what I just mentioned just now. On the US close-to-close basis, you will get that fixed leverage performance. All right, so principle number one, DLCs track the underlying US stocks daily percentage performance multiplied by the fixed leverage factor on the US market close-to-close basis. All right, so you can see the chart over here on the table on the left, on the far most left, on the US market close session, right? My US stock, assuming it closes at $100 US, assuming that my 3 times long DLC closes at $1. All right, then fast forward to US market close T plus 1. My US stock had rallied by 15% to $115. It closes at the 4 a.m. US market close T plus 1. It closes at $115. My 3 times long DLC will give you that 3 times performance. So it should be up by 15% times by 3. It should be up by 45%. And you will have a closing price of around $1.45, up 45% from its previous close of $1 before overnight costs and fees to give you that 3 times performance. So on a US market close-to-close basis, you will get that 3 times performance of the underlying US stocks daily percentage performance. All right. So that's basic principle number one on the US market close-to-close. But at US market close 4 a.m. in the morning, Singapore time, you will not be able to trade the DLCs, which I explained just now. But the DLC will have that value there, but you can't trade the DLC during the US market close. So what happens during Asian hours, during SGX market hours, brings us to principle number 2. We go next slide. So principle number 2, during SGX market hours, all right, when the US market is closed, the market price of the US stock DLC will be closely linked to the performance of the US stock traded on alternative trading systems during Asian hours. All right, so over the last couple of years, there have been a rise of the trend of Asian hour trading of US stocks. All right, even Phillip does now offer 24/5 US stock trading. So you can trade US stocks during Asian hours. And when people trade during on these platforms, alternative trading systems during Asian hours, the US stocks, there is price discovery there. There's a price of what the underlying reference price is during Asian hours. And for us, SocGen, we'll track that price with that 3 times performance. All right, so there is a price discovery now during Asian hours of what is Tesla trading during Asian hours. What is at 10 a.m. Singapore time, what is Tesla's share price right now? There is now alternative trading systems that offer that and that there's price discovery there. Even Phillip has it as well to 24/5 US stock trading, and we will follow those prices. Okay, so using the example earlier, US stock closed at $100, DLC closed at $1 at a US market close session. Say for example, like this morning Tesla, for example, right? They reported better than expected earnings results. All right. And then at 9 a.m. Singapore time, this US stock had risen to $106 on this alternative trading system, up 6%. All right. So it's up 6% at 9 a.m. Singapore time because of the better than expected earnings results that they announced after the US market close. My 3 times long DLC at 9 a.m. will be at price bid offer will be around $1.18, up 18% because the underlying stock is up 6%. My DLC will be give you that 3 times performance, so it should be up by 18%, and you'll be quoting at $1.18. So at this point in time, 9 a.m. Singapore time, SGX market open, you saw, this company reported better than expected results, and I believe in this company, I think it's going to continue on its bullish momentum. That's where you can consider, okay, I want to initiate a long position, a 3 times long DLC position on the underlying stock. You can buy it at $1.18 at 9 a.m. Singapore time. All right. And indeed, if your view is correct and the underlying stock continues to rise further, just before SGX market close, 4:59 p.m., the stock had risen further to $110, right? Up 10% from its close of $100, up 10%. My 3 times long DLC will be around, the bid and offer price will be around $1.30 to give that 30% gain, 3 times that of the underlying stock's 10% gain, right? So at this point of time, just before SGX market close, 4:59 p.m., you can then decide, okay, I want to lock in the profit. All right, I bought it at $1.18. Now I want to sell back to SocGen at $1.30. Sell back to us, and then you make that profit of 12 cents and lock in that profit. All right, so that's what you can do using the DLCs. All right, but if you do not want to lock in a profit and you are a bit more greedy, I think that you continue to rise further during the US market hours, then okay, you can hold it overnight. All right, you can hold it overnight. All right, but you cannot manage your position overnight. Remember that. but the DLC will continue to maintain its exposure with that 3 times performance to the underlying stock's daily percentage performance. All right, so overnight during US market hours, indeed, your view is correct. Underlying stock continues to rise further, right? It continues to rise further, and then overnight, 4 a.m. US market close, the underlying US stock closed at $115, up 15%, right? Then this DLC will give you that 3 times performance, right? So it will rise from $1.30 at US market close to $1.45 to give that 45% gain on a close-to-close basis, 3 times that of the underlying US stocks, 15% gain. All right. But at this point now, at US market close, T+1 session, 4 a.m. in the morning, you cannot sell back your DLC yet. All right. The value is at $1.45, but you can't sell back yet. You can only wait until the next day, SGX market open, 9 a.m. All right. If the stock is still trading at $115 at 9 a.m. Singapore time, our bid and offer prices will be at around $1.45. And then you can sell back at 9 a.m. Singapore time, sell back to us at $1.45 to lock in your profit of $1.45 versus your purchase price of $1.18. All right. So that, in a nutshell, is how the leverage performance of the US stock DLCs work on the US market close-to-close basis, and what happens during Asian hours, IGX market hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. How do we price that product? All right. So these two slides, I hope that it's clear on how the performance of the US stock DLCs work. All right. Next slide. This is a bit of what Juan Zhi talked about just now as well. Opportunities during Asian hours. All right. This morning, we did see Tesla move 12% after their earnings results, right, at the post-market session. So these are key opportunities that you can use the US stock DLCs to gain exposure or to initiate a position on the using the US stock DLCs, because there are some big moves that come on the underlying stock, on the share price of the US stock after their earnings results. All right, and then the first trading window that you can really use to gain an exposure or initial position is 9 a.m. SGX market open and using the US stock DLCs. Right. So Tesla was up minus 12% in its previous earnings results. Today it's up 12% in its earnings release. Nvidia was down 6.4% in its previous earnings release. Amazon was down 8.8%. So these are some big moves that you can use the US stock DLCs to trade. All right. Next week, we have a slew of all the other Max 7 stocks earnings. I think Juan Zhi was talking about it as well. 28, 29, 30, 31st, they are all the Max 7 stocks are going to report their earnings. So look out for it. Check out our US stock DLCs as well. See how the price moves. All right. If you see opportunities, please, consider the US stock DLCs as well. For a post-earnings trade, or even if you want a position ahead of the earnings, feel free to do so. All right. Next slide. Right. Before I want to go on, is one key and very important feature of the DLCs, which I have to share with you guys, and that you must understand before you trade the DLCs, is the compounding effect. All right. With all fixed leverage instruments, your TQQQ or your SQQQ in the US, they all have this compounding effect feature that you have to understand before you trade the DLCs. All right. So the compounding effect can work for you in a nice trending market, or it can work against you in a sideways or volatile market. All right, the table on the left highlights a case where the compounding effect can work very well for you. You can see that the underlying is up by 3% for 3 consecutive days. My DLC will give you that 3 times performance. The 3 times long DLC will give you that 3 times performance every day. So it's up 9%, 9%, 9% for 3 consecutive days as well. All right. The underlying is up by 9.27% for that 3 cumulative days. All right. But my 3 times long DLC is up by 29.5% cumulatively over the 3 trading days. All right, so 9% times by 3 is 27%, but my DLC gives me 29%. So the extra 2% is due to the compounding effect or compounded gains on the DLC. So every day your gains and losses are locked in. So the 9% on day 2 is based off a higher base, the 9% on day 3 is based off a higher base, and therefore there's that compounded gains that you can really get more than that 3 times leverage in a nice trending market. Okay, this is the best case scenario for the DLC. All right. I'm not saying this happens every day. All right. But we've seen our dear, Hong Kong stocks, recent rally in the Hong Kong stock rally in the last couple of weeks. Within a short span of like 2 weeks or like 5 days, we've seen our Bilibili DLCs, 5 times long DLCs go from deliver 800% returns. 800%. Okay, that's crazy. All right, this doesn't happen every day. It's really disclaimer, okay? It doesn't happen every day where you get that kind of 800% return on a DLC. All right, but that's the power of compounding. right? Bilibili might be up only about 50 or 70%, but the DLC can deliver 800% because of this compounded returns. All right. Again, I'm not trying to make everyone so excited. Suddenly I see everyone all awake, here 800%. All right. But this doesn't happen every day. But that is the power of the compounding effect in a nice trending market. Okay. Now for the downside, I'll be very balanced. All right. Where the compounding effect won't work for you is in a sideways or volatile market. So the table on the right over here, you can see that the underlying's up by 3% on day one, down by 5% on day two, but rebounds back by 11.67% on day three to give the cumulative 3-day return of 9.27% on the underlying stock. My 3 times DLC will continue to give you that 3 times performance every day. So day one up 9%, day two down 15%, day three up 35%. Cumulatively, it's only up by 25%. 9% times by 3 is 27%, but my DLC only have 25%. That's because of the compounding effect, where the losses on day two is locked in, and therefore the gain on day three is based off a lower base of $4.63. That is compounding effect. All right. So that's another reason why the DLCs are really not meant to be a buy and hold instrument. All right. You don't buy and hold this for a year. All right. This is a short-term trading instrument. You trade it intraday, you trade it for a few days, you trade it for a few weeks, but if you find yourself holding it for 2 or 3 months, give yourself a slap and then press the sell button. All right. All right. This is not a buy and hold instrument. It's a short-term trading instrument. Few days, few weeks, but not more than a few months. Okay. All right. Not more than a month. Try not to hold it for more than a month. All right. Not a buy and hold instrument because of the compounding effect. Markets don't move in that one direction in the long run. All right. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever goes down must come up. All right. So in the long run, you run the risk of being in a sideways market, and that's where the compounding effect will not work for you. Okay, next slide. All right, some of the risks. I think on the US stock DLCs, there's always a leverage risk, 3 times leverage. Leverage is a double-edged sword, so make sure you always understand. If you put in $5,000 worth of your money into the 3 times DLC, take note that your exposure to the underlying stock is 15,000. Okay, it's as though you are trading $50,000 worth of the shares. All right, so don't go and you want to buy $100,000 worth of Tesla shares, of Tesla stock. So you can buy $100,000 worth of the 3 times DLC. That is no go. All right, then your exposure is 300,000 to the Tesla shares. All right, so make sure you know that this is a 3 times leverage and you position sizing properly. All right, you want to gain $5,000, then you take $5,000 divided by 3, and then you buy that amount of DLCs. All right. Product performance may differ from 3 times from performance. That's the compounding effect. Compounding effect can work for you or against you. Please know that. All right. There's the airbag mechanism that's apparent in all our DLCs. All right. It's an intraday reset mechanism where you will reduce your exposure during after it's triggered. All right. So it will only be triggered against the direction of your DLC. If you buy the long DLC, all right, on Tesla, for example, and Tesla falls by minus 20% during US market hours, the airbag mechanism will be triggered overnight to reduce your exposure. All right. But if you bought the 3 times short Tesla DLC, for example, and Tesla falls by minus 20%, the airbag trigger level is plus minus 20%, then you'll be 60% profit on the short DLC. So it's only triggered against the direction of your DLC. All right. So if you hold the long and then the price drops by minus 20% during US overnight hours, the airbag mechanism will be triggered. The leverage will be reset intraday during US market overnight. All right. So that is what happens on the airbag mechanism. All right. This one can only be triggered during the US regular trading hours. So 9:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. If the underlying US stock goes up or goes down by 20%, move intraday, the airbag mechanism will be triggered on either the long or the short DLC depending on the direction of the move. All right. And this is only during US regular trading hours, 9:30 p.m. to 4 a.m. Singapore time. Outside of these hours, during SGX market hours, etc., the airbag mechanism will not be triggered. Okay. All right. And lastly, different regular trading hours. So I mentioned this a few times already. You can only trade the US stock DLCs during SGX market hours. You cannot trade it outside of SGX market hours. You cannot trade it during US overnight hours. All right. Next. All right. So, we mentioned that the leverage performance will track during Asian hours, the prices that trade on the alternative trading systems during SGX market hours. All right. So we have published this price on our website under the terms page of each of our DLCs. I'll show you guys in a bit. the underlying reference price during Asian hours. What is Tesla price trading at 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. Singapore time? We will publish it here. All right. You can also see on your Phillip platform, if you know where to find the 24/5 US stock trading hours on your Phillip platform, on your Poient platform, you can also see it there. But for the convenience, you can also see it over here on our website. All right. So maybe if I can just go to our website, just a quick one to the web browser. All right. So if you can visit our website, dlc.socgen.com. If you can't remember it, don't worry. Okay. Later, everyone will be receiving a nice little gift box with our website email address, website URL address on it. It's a 3-in-1 portable charger that I hope that everyone can take away one later on before you go. All right. So remember, take one before you go out. It's from SocGen. A small gift for joining our session today. Our website link is there, so you don't have to memorize it. All right. dlc.socgen.com. All right. You can visit our website, and under the US market tab on the top, under the US market tab, that's where you can find more information about the US stock DLCs, the intraday reference price of the US stocks during Asian hours. You can see over here, this is the 9 a.m. mark, where boom, okay, 9 a.m. the Tesla was up at 12% mark. All right, and then after that, during Asian hours, it retraced a bit down to about 10% at the close. All right. So at this point here, yes, you can choose to take a position using the Tesla long DLC, or you can take a position during the Tesla short DLC. If you had held the TSYW, the 3 times long DLC, if you had bought it the day before, like yesterday, before HS market close, you bought it before HS market close, you bought the TSYW, you will have been sitting on close to 40% gain this morning. All right. Because of the big move on the Tesla overnight. But I mean, this one is on hindsight, on hindsight. No one can tell that Tesla, it can be up 12% easily today, but it could have easily been down minus 20% this morning. I tell you, Tesla is an animal on its own. All right. So on hindsight, that's it. But if you hold it overnight, you can still get the exposure on the US stock performance. You'll be sitting on close to 40% gain. All right. But even if not, can we go back to the previous page? Even if not, you can also, buy it at 9 a.m. Singapore time. All right. You can over here, you think that Tesla could rise further tonight. Let's see how US Tesla goes tonight. You can still buy it here. If you think 12% is just the start of the rally, you can buy it early ahead of the US market open. And if indeed Tesla tonight goes up to plus 18%, plus 20%, you will be sitting on quite a nice gain the next morning. All right. Or if you're contrarian, you can buy the short DLC. 12% is overreacting. Tesla results wasn't that great only. Elon Musk was just speaking a lot of gibberish. Let's short it. All right. And then if it did, it does come down towards the close, then you will be profiting using the short DLC. All right. Down. So in this page, you can also find the full list of US DLCs over here on our Magnificent 7 stocks. All right. You can find all the terms. These are the prices and our bid offer codes. You can see they're all at 1 cent spread. So we are maintaining very, very tight spread on our US stock DLCs. 1 cent at these levels is only about 0.2% spread. All right. So we're very tight spread and we are quoting $1 million on each side. All right. I know there are a lot of big hands over here, a lot of deep pockets over here. So if you want to trade $1 million worth of DLCs, go ahead. All right. We have that bid and ask prices, bid and ask volumes there for you to buy and sell the DLCs. All right. Yep. So that's the list of DLCs down. All right. Most important part of this page. All right. Hey, how come cannot see? Ayo. Okay. My handsome face is over here. Okay. My best video so far. But we have a video called, on the US stock DLCs. What are the benefits and how does it work? All right. I think it should work on your mobile, on your platform. Do watch this short 3 to 5 minute video on how the US stock DLCs work. It's a recap of what I've explained. But it's good to refresh that, understand how it works before you trade the US stock DLCs. So we do have that video over there. Just support, add to the views. All right. And watch the video there. Down a bit. And then we have the US economic calendar. All right. So over here, you can see that Tesla reported today. Google is on 29th, Meta, Microsoft on 30th, and Apple, Amazon on 31st. Okay. So those dates, mark it down. All right. Not so much because of the earnings, but it's a day that you should also be looking at the US stock DLCs. All right, check out the US stock DLCs during the earnings period. I think you will see that some of these will be some nice moves, and hopefully you can consider pulling the trigger. All right, and trying out our US stock DLCs on the back of this earnings coming up next week. All right, or the US election that's coming soon as well. All right, next down. Okay, lastly, FAQs over here. All right, so just look at read through some of these FAQs. How does the daily performance work? What are the benefits? Read through these FAQs. So we do have quite a lot of educational resources over here. Okay, but if you still have questions in your head, etc., we have a hotline number right at the top of our website. All right, so 626-2828. Please feel free to call this number anytime during SGX market hours, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. My team and I, we're on standby to answer any calls. All right, so just give us a call. Any questions, any feedback you have on the DLCs, please just give us a call. We're happy to even give you a one-on-one again on how the US stock DLCs work. But please do reach out to us. We're very friendly. Just give us a call. And we're happy to answer any questions that you have. All right. So I think that's all I have on the US stock DLCs. It's a very exciting launch that we've just recently rolled out. All right. And we think that it's a very good and very nice value proposition for those of you who are interested in trading the US stocks, who are already trading the US stocks, trading the US options. This could be a very complementary tool as part of your overall portfolio, especially if there's any high impact news during Asian hours, after company earnings results, big moves on the underlying stock. Essentially, you can use the DLCs at 9 a.m. Singapore time, 10 a.m. Singapore time to trade the underlying US stocks using our DLCs. All right. So I think that's all I have. Maybe you can have a bit of a Q&A.
Right, thanks Marcus for insightful sessions for the new bots that we have in hand. Right, so you can trade the US DLCs like Marcus said on SGX through our platform itself. And on our platform, we have a dedicated tab for DLCs itself, which you can search for the DLCs itself. So you see a listing of DLCs even on our platform itself. When you see on this website for the counter codes, you need to see ours for the list of so it's easier for you to find. Right. So we'll leave this page on while we do the Q&A. Any questions from the audience here? Right, so we do have one question this time from online, which I'll share. Right, so the question is, since the US stocks are traded here off market hours before US market open, how are the bid and ask prices determined, especially if our liquidity here are not high enough?
Okay. All right. So the price of the DLC, right? At the start of the listing date, when it was first listed, first day it start trading, is an arbitrary number. Whether is it $5 or whether is it $4, is an arbitrary number. All right. That's the first day. Right. So when it starts trading on the first day, right, it will already take that reference. Like if that first day, okay, issue price is $5 for NVIDIA, for example. Issue price for NVIDIA DLC is $5. All right. So on the first day of trading, 4th of October, when we first listed the DLC, it will track that leverage performance of NVIDIA with that 3 times leverage based off this issue price of $5. Right. So if NVIDIA on first day of trading was up by 1%, so my NVIDIA long DLC will be up by 3%. So my DLC issue price was $5. So it will go up to $5.15, right? To give you that 3% performance. And then on day one, it will close at $5.15. And then on day two, if it's up another 3% because NVIDIA is up by another 1%, it will be another 3% of $5.15. And so on and so forth. So every day it will just keep going. Every day, based on that performance of the underlying stock, multiplied by 3, multiplied by the previous close of the DLC, will give you the price of the DLC close today. So that's how the price of the DLC work. All right. So if you bought it now $3.31, $3.32, and if indeed, NVIDIA, this is a short DLC, NVIDIA long $7.44, $7.74, $7.75. If indeed the US close to close session value of the performance of NVIDIA is up by 1%, my 3 times long NVIDIA will be 3% performance. It'll be 3% off this $7.74 or around there. All right. So that's how the price of the DLC work. Every day you'll give that same performance. We started off with just an arbitrary number, $5, $4, etc. It could have been $100 for anything. But we started off at $5 and it keeps moving after that, just based on the 3 times performance of the underlying stock's daily percentage performance. Every day on a close to close basis, we'll use that reference. All right. So that's how the price of the DLC is actually works. Okay, start off with just an arbitrary number, and then every day we just track that underlying stock performance with that 3 times leverage performance. Okay.
All right. So any questions?
Yes. Not all for $5. We started Tesla and Nvidia at $5. Then we started the rest at $4. This is the price today. Yes, cumulative price after we started. So from $5, Nvidia long now is up by $2.74. How much? It's like almost a
More than 60,
Nice.
55
right. So Nvidia has been like in a massive bull run.
Yeah.
That's why from $5 it has been up to 774 in a span of like 2 weeks. So that will continue. Yeah. Okay. So margin account is a margin, so you get the leverage from the margin, right? I give you margin, so you put in $1,000, I allow you to trade up to $3,000. That's a margin kind of concept of leverage. This leverage is not a margin, it's not from the margin itself, right? This leverage is inbuilt into the product performance itself, right? I put in $1,000 over here, but then the performance, the leverage is in the price of the product. My price will keep giving you that price performance 3 times that of the underlying stock's daily percentage performance. Yes, correct. Yes, that's what I was gonna say as well. It's like margin products. You run the risk of having a margin call because of if you do a margin up to 5 times, if the underlying moves against you by 30%, that's 150% loss. Somehow you might have to cough up that 50% loss on top of the 100% loss, right? Whereas for the DLCs, it's a securitized product. It's on the SGX. The SGX is never going to come to you and say pay up the additional 50%, right? Or we are not going to come to you and say pay up the 50%. If you buy a 5 times leverage DLC, underlying moves 30% against you, 150% loss, the maximum you can lose is 100%. All right. The 100% is still painful. All right. 100% is still confirm painful, but at least you will not be asked to cough up that extra 50%, or you want to owe the broker or owe someone that 50% loss. TQQ, we do have a NASDAQ one, so you can look at underlying. Sorry, thanks, Francis. No, you can look down. So we do have the NASDAQ one as well. If you can click, so we have 7 times, 5 times leverage on the NASDAQ. So this is the same payoff as your TQQQ or SQQQ, but because we're in a certificate structure, we can go higher in terms of leverage, 5 times or 7 times long and short directions. So the 7 times short has been our most popular DLC last year. I'm not going to say whether it's will they make money or not, but but people have been trying to short using this 7 times leverage one. So that's our US indices DLC range. So this one also concept similar, same. You can only trade it during SGX market hours. During SGX market hours, it will track the E-mini futures during SGX market hours. Any questions?
Any questions? If we do have the please.
Oh. Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't remember the questions.
Anyways, I'll help you with it. Right, so maybe let me move on to the quiz page.
Got some prizes to be won.
Yep. You can see.
Stop sharing.
Yes. On their end. Okay, so in this meantime, let's recap the 5 questions. So you need to just scan the QR code to join the calculator. Right, the top three will the price. In the top three, remember this very important thing is that you must screenshot that you are top three because it will be for both physical and online participants. For physical, you are advantage because there's no delay. For online, there is slight delay for the Zoom transmission. Yeah, okay. We're using vouchers anyway. So take the email of the screenshot. So you can look on the QR code icon. Right? Standard. Okay. Okay, so while you are joining in the QR code, right? So just now I mentioned, right? For the trading itself, if you're going to take a plunge and try out the DLC, there is the promotion ongoing, $88 for 2 buy trades of any value, 2 buy trade of any value. Right, so we look at the fact that the lowest now is $5 plus maybe, right? You get $400 per trade, so total $800 plus invested. Right, you try out. If 2 buy trades within this period of time all the way to the end of 31st December, you'll be entitled to $88 of cash reward from SocGen. Right, so you credit through your trading account with us. Right. So also, other than you are doing if you are the top three, you screenshot already. If you are here physically, look for my colleague there in your white cardigan, right? Raising your hand up behind you. Right, it's a lady, a pretty full lady, right? Look for her, give her your email, name, and phone number. Then we will be able to credit you the reward. If you're online, screenshot and send to an email which my colleague will post on the chat box. Anyway, 56. Almost full house. Got some news coming. Anyone still joining? Anyone still trying to join? Anyone join what? I'm now very fast. If you join in, we will then need to start. Alright, sir, you are able to join? I think so. Okay, so my colleague, please help me launch the game. Right. This is going to be for 5 questions. First one, what is the listing date of the first batch of SocGen DLC? Right, so this one, we will start, not December, launch already, but it's a small, we see it faster. But not December, you choose December, no, it's not social, that's not yet. You can travel to the future and come back to the past again. Not December for sure. You choose December. One fast, 2 fast already, November. Okay, next. The best is small number, okay, first question only. No worries. So 4 more to go. Next, please. Which is the initial batch of US stock USC will launch? What contests are they? Netflix, Disney, Spotify, Disney, or is it McDonald's, Walmart, and Target? Just now we've been sharing. So which batch is this? Of course, if they see sufficient demand and with feedback, I believe SocGen will also explore with other new sectors as well. All right, well, I believe there's a lot more contests that's popular. Right. So 5 right. Right? Majority. Next question. We see, okay, new first later. Next one. Question 3. What is the leverage offered? What is the multiplier? 7 times, 5 times, 2 times. For US stock DLC, US stock DLC. How many multiplier? Just now, Lucas has been sharing the multiplier for this DLCs. Okay. 7 times and 5 times for this was the stock in this indices, the index one. Right, next. the first place going down. I think second and third place is still quite tight. Right, the fourth and fifth should be very good. So let's see who's in the top three by the end. Next question. Number four. The first batch is traded in currency. USD, SGD, or both USD and SGD. Just now, also part of what Nicholas has shared, one of the key features of this product itself, right? Because it's traded in this currency, right, you don't have to run the risk of having to convert it yourself. Right, so it's HGD. 31st, no say carefully, the stock is traded in USD, but I'm not continue.
But we're looking to do USD currency soon as well. Okay, so in time to come, we will do US dollar denominated DLCs as well on the 3 times long and short Magnificent 7 stock. So look out for that as well. But for now, we only have SGD. Okay.
Right. So now you only SGD, but next time for those that want to directly use your USD that you have to trade, you can use it in the future. Right? Next question. This is going to be the last question. Any change? Oh, the first two very strong. But what name is this? 3 times meta. Very strong in meta. Super supporter of meta. I think we got a chance to number 3 or number 2. Next, see how strong you are. High speed. Which is the stock code of the NVIDIA long and short DLC? This is not easy, but it's not going to be NVIDIA. It's not blue color. What letter does NVIDIA start with? Not TRT, it's Tesla. So what is it? Cannot be NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the actual stock. Reaction speed. We cannot answer so much. Wait. What am I saying? See? 9% plus 7, 16% too fast. So everything the answer, they already click answer already. I want to be the first to click. Okay, now you'll see who's in the top 3. Right? Before I show what we are showing the top 3, if you're here in person, do for my colleague in the white cardigan. Another thing is that at our reception counter, you join our Telegram group or show that you have joined the Telegram group. You get a charging mat from SockGen. And this is a very nice present if you have iPhones charging that's able to run through wireless. You can very easy. I'm using it in my office. It's very good. Right? So do take a look. And I hope you remember SockGen and see that charging device.
That I do it on the points.
You can do the private, you can do through our website. But if you qualify by your board, the online fees will be just one extra. You should do that. No worries.
Thank you.
As well,